Good morning, everyone. I hope you had an amazing weekend and it was a restful weekend. And welcome to this morning's edition of Contractors Chatter. I'm your host, Luciana Turner. And there go that dry skin again. Oh, well. Here we go. You know how we do. As you enter the room, say hello. You know, spread this amongst your network. We do not believe in growing alone. Over here, excuse me. We want to share this amongst our network. We want to share this with our colleagues. We want to share this with those who are embarking upon an entrepreneurial journey. Contractor Chatter is that platform where we share a little bit of business, a little bit of legislation, and a whole plethora of empowerment. Now, I'm not going to be before you long this morning because, quite frankly, my filling fell out of my tooth over the weekend. So, um, and the way it fell out, every time I talk, it rubs against my cheek. And because of the nice and long holiday weekend, I wasn't able to get into the dentist. However, I wanted to pop on this morning and share a thought with you that I'm going to expand upon in a podcast episode. Excuse me, I don't know why everything wants to act up once I go on live, but here it is. Now, you know how I say hello. I engage with everyone that I can when I can. So, as you pop on. But a friend of mine she's a leadership coach. I've spoken about her and I've shared a piece of an interview I conducted with her on this platform. And she posted a comment during over the weekend where she said, ask because it's within your network. And I had a podcast episode a few months back where I said, ask the right question. I want to expand upon that just a little bit. A lot of times we're not getting the answer we're seeking because we're not asking in depth questions. We're asking surface questions. And then we're angry because we're not getting the right answers. So I want to put this out there. Start from the answer you want and then formulate the question. I think far too often we have this habit of just asking whatever question comes to mind, and then we get upset because the answer we're getting is not quite what we're looking for, and that's because we haven't sat still long enough, and we haven't sat still long enough. We haven't started with the end in mind. We haven't started and said, what is the end game? Why am I even asking the question? I mean, some of us ask questions just for the sake of asking. And sometimes when you do this, you'll find that you don't even need the answer. Sometimes in doing this, you'll run into the answer yourself. Sometimes in doing this, you'll get to not only the proper question, you'll get to the proper person to ask the question of. Sometimes we're asking questions of the wrong people. That's a thing too. We're asking the right questions, but we're asking them of the wrong people. And then we're angry with other people because we are frustrated. That's a whole conundrum that we're going to delve into. Leadership, leading a company, making contract decisions take on different forms at different times. And it all boils down to asking the right questions of the right people at the right time. And if you can't nail this down, it will frustrate the process. I'm going to say this one more time. If you can't nail this down, it will frustrate the process. So, as I said, I'm going to talk about this at length and a podcast episode that I'm recording this afternoon or tomorrow, depending on what happens with my tooth. There's a whole lot going on. They've come to a tentative deal with the debt ceiling, as I told you they would. Work requirements for welfare was a part of the package. So all of my workforce development people expect new contracts. Workforce development people expect new contracts to come out because somebody is going to have to upskill all of the people currently on welfare. Daycare providers expect new contracts because those who are at home are going to have to do something with their children, especially over the summer. There are so many opportunities in the new debt ceiling packages if you listen to it. I will go live when the new package is finally unveiled and they do their dog and pony show. I do a special broadcast during the State of the Union address. And I do an analysis while everybody is doing their political punditing. I do an analysis from a business perspective. And that's where I break it down from a business angle. And from a business angle, what this deal means is, especially with, and I've only was listening to it from a cursory perspective because quite frankly, I chilled this weekend, especially with the filling coming out of my tooth. The work requirement attached to welfare is going to lead to workforce development contracts. It's going to lead to contracts for daycare providers. And what I will say with this, at-home care providers, you would be wise to legitimize your services and take advantage of this. There are ways for you to get in on this. A lot of parents are afraid of the larger daycare facilities, especially in our communities. You know what I'm talking about. However, if you are an at-home provider and you're providing good quality services and you legitimize your business, you can take advantage of what is coming up and service your community. I'm not be raggedy, but service our community. There are ways to do this and give our parents rest Because I know when I went back to work after having my children, that was a concern of mine. Who was watching my children? I was just lucky and I was just fortunate. I wasn't lucky, I was blessed that I had a friend who was a provider watching my children. So that was a burden lifted off of my shoulder. And that is a valid concern, especially with so much that's going on. So get ahead of the wave. But I'm going to tell you, get out of this notion that somebody's going to help you do all of this for free. Get out of that notion. Nobody's going to help you get a multi-$100,000 contract for free. Especially within our community, I want us to get out of this addiction to free labor. We fought a little pesky war over that. So I don't know why we still adhering to this thought around free labor. We fought a war over it. I thought that was over with. And everybody is, I hope everybody's picking up what I'm putting down around that. So I wanted to recap something that I touched on last week. I'm talking a little funny this morning. Anybody who just joined me, my filling came out of my tooth. And the way it came out, the tooth is rubbing against my gum. So it's irritating my cheek a little bit. So I'm talking a little funny this morning. And the thought fell out my head totally when I said that. But to recap, allegedly there's a budget deal on the debt ceiling. One of the requirements in the budget deal was a work requirement for welfare recipients. I don't know why people are against that. I think it's a good thing. I personally feel that anything that empowers people, anything that takes people from hopelessness to hopefulness is a good thing. So I don't know why people want to say that's bad. But anyway, that rider alone, I haven't looked at the totality of the bill, but that rider alone is going to lead to 2 new opportunities. Workforce development, because somebody's going to have to train these people, and daycare providers. Somebody is going to have to look after the children. So those businesses are going to see an uptick in contracts. As soon as this bill is signed, as soon as the money gets obligated, we're going to see an uptick in contracts coming out in those 2 particular areas. Excuse me. You're also going to see an uptick in in professional development training contracts. So you're going to see in 3 different areas. Now we're going to talk about corollary services. Anybody who provides corollary services to government contractors are going to see an uptick. You see how this flows. So with the debt ceiling, which I told everybody, we're coming into an election year. Nobody was going to shut down the government, not with everybody trying to get reelected. And nobody wants the sting of a shutdown sitting on them, because nobody wants to be at fault for shutting down the country, especially after the last 2 years we just had. Those 3 contracts are going to come out of the initiative. There are more initiatives coming out of those, out of the negotiations. We still have to get through Senate. More than likely, it's going to pass Senate. So that's it for the budget debt ceiling fight. There's still, sorry, they're still passing appropriations for FY 2024, which goes into which starts on October 1st. So there's a whole lot still in play. There's some congressional hearings going on now for new legislation, for new regulations. Yeah, I need to really pay attention to the Federal Registry. There's some proposed legislation that makes absolutely no sense coming out of the Department of Energy. That as business owners, anybody who does engine, that makes no sense. Check out the Federal Registry. And the way it affects businesses, we're going to see an increase in cost that is going to make everybody have to go up on your prices. And I'm not even talking about a little bit. I'm talking about a significant increase. And even if you don't go up on your costs, it's going to affect the power grid, which is going to affect how you do business. So we need to check the Federal Registry on a daily basis. There are new proposed legislation, coming out on a daily basis. I'm going to, look at some of that and bring more of that to you. I'm sorry, I'm a little off this morning. Bring that to you. So I'm not going to belabor the point this morning and just wrap up with this. Because I'm just not going to belabor the point. I'm going to be refreshed tomorrow. Hopefully, I can get into the dentist today. But I want everybody to be mindful of this as we do our business planning. We're in June. So June is the half year point for most people who are running a calendar year. This means everybody should be running their or beginning to run their half year projections. You should know at this point how much money you've made this year. And you should be running it against your budget, your budgets. Are you on par for your goals this year? If the answer is yes, then keep on rocking. Can you adjust so that you can exceed projections? I know I'm a little ambitious. Can you exceed projections for this year? Are you on course to exceed projections for this year? If the answer is no, what can you do to get on track? I'm going to ask the question again. What can you do to get on track? There's time to meet your goals for this year. June 1st is Thursday, I believe it is. So if you're not on track to meet your goals for the year, don't give up. Pivot. You still have 7 months. But you can't hit a target you're not tracking to hit. So begin running your numbers. Go into your accounting system and begin running those reports. If you don't have an accounting system, then that's your first problem. That is your first problem. You should have an accounting system to track your number. You should not have a shoebox This is 2023. The days of the shoeboxes are over. You should have an accounting system, not an app. Apps are fine for certain things, but when you want to do drill down reports, apps don't cut it. When you want to go to the bank to seek funding, apps don't cut it. So, you need to go into your accounting system and do drill down reports and see how you can pivot for this year. And then sit down and create a plan to get you on course. And of course, if you need help, ask the right questions and get help. I'm here for you. My calendar link is in my bio. It's in the description, excuse me. Book a session so you can get that help. Because the longer you wait for help, the longer it'll take you to reach your goals. And with that, I will see you tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. for another installment of Contractors Chatter. This is Luciana Turner, your host. Have an amazing, amazing day. Don't forget, a stressed mind cannot create. Make sure, even though we just came off of a long weekend, to take time today for you. I'll see you tomorrow morning.